Hi there, welcome back to the study for another Dave's Desk. Actually back in the study after several weeks of journeying around, and we're now getting into the real heart of Jesus' teaching ministry in the Gospels, with the story of the healing of Jairus' daughter and of the woman who'd been ill for 12 years. And for me this is one of the most, one of the fullest, the most sort of fleshed out of the healing narratives within the Gospels. And the story is Jesus is teaching and he comes to a town, and there's a synagogue leader there called Jairus whose daughter has been ill for a while and no one knows how to make her better. And I think for a long time in the West we kind of, that perhaps is distant from us, because so much of the time the illnesses that we get are treatable, and you get a headache, you can take some paracetamol, you get an infection, you take some antibiotics, and we have a really low, thankfully, child mortality rate generally, and we are used to diseases being curable. But actually we're getting more used to the idea that you can get poorly all of a sudden with something that's sadly quite common and it not be treatable. And that's probably what's happened to Jairus' daughter. She's come down with an infection or an illness of some kind. They've no medicine that will treat it, that will make her better, and so they're just at her bedside praying. And then Jairus learns that Jesus, this person who he understands is a miracle worker and someone who can do healings, has come into their town, so he runs to find Jesus, to see if he will come and heal his daughter. And Jesus is, immediately there. Yeah, I will come. And so they start walking to Jairus' house, and everyone's a bit of a rush. They know that the daughter's very ill. They don't want to be too late. But Jesus is, at this point of his ministry, very popular. There's crowds gathering around him all the time. And in the midst of one of these crowds, as the people are pushing and shoving and trying to get close to Jesus, Jesus feels power go out from him. Someone has clutched his clothes, and power has gone out from Jesus. And so Jesus calls a halt and says, no, we need to stop. Jesus has time. He's not rushed. There's no sense of scarcity in the economy of Jesus. Jesus says, stop. And they stop. And he says, who touched me? And the disciples are like, you're being pushed and shoved from every direction. But he's like, no, who touched me? Who touched me with faith? And the woman who's been healed knows that she's been healed. These years of bleeding that have meant that she's an outcast from the village, from the town, from her family, from her friends. She's always going to have been on the edge of everything. Probably shouldn't have been in the midst of a crowd like this. But she was desperate to be healed. The Bible tells us that she'd been seeking support from doctors for years, and all that they'd done was make her less well. Their understanding was not enough. And so she's found Jesus and she's clutched him, and he says, no, you believed and your faith has made you well. And as Jesus finishes that conversation, people come from Jairus' house saying, it's too late, your daughter has died. And Jesus turns to Jairus and said, it's not too late, don't worry, trust. And so they head to Jairus' house, battle their way through the crowds, and at Jairus' house they find the house full of mourners weeping and wailing. And Jesus says, don't cry, she's not dead, she's just sleeping. And they laugh at him because she so obviously is completely dead. And so Jesus has this place cleared out, and he goes in and he says, wake up. And she comes back to life. He draws her life back to her body, and she gets up like someone who's been in a deep sleep. And we have in this narrative this really clear picture of Jesus' heart for us as people. Often when Mark, and this is found in Mark's Gospel, often when Mark highlights the interplay between stories. He's doing it so that one story helps us to understand the other, so that the central story helps us to understand the outside story, the sort of the bookend story. And so here we see the woman who has been outcast and on the edge, brought back. So she's healed physically, but more than that, she's healed spiritually. She's able to once again be with her community, be restored to her place in that community. And the little girl is also restored. Perhaps most miraculously, she's brought from death back to life. But we're to understand that as a sense of being restored back to those who love her. And in it we see, therefore, Jesus' heart to bring about restoration. That sometimes that will mean the curing of diseases and physical ailments, but that at the heart of it we need to be restored to the fullness of life in him. And that as we trust in him, as we have faith in him, as Jairus had faith in Jesus, as the woman who was healed had faith in Jesus, we can find in him that restoration that we so desperately need. Both we can trust in him that we will be restored to community in good time, but also that we will be restored to that full community of glory found in heaven. All we need is him. I hope that's some encouragement to you. Please do, as ever, feel free to comment or to critique what we've said here, to join the discussion. I wonder if you feel like Jesus' focus there is in restoration, or is he doing something different? Please do feel free to let me know, and hopefully see you again soon. Thank you for coming. Bye bye.